We still need lots of spices. This smells so good.
The ones that I gave you are meant to be calming for women who love to drink teas or lattes. My favorite one of the ones that I gave you is called Sunshine Sip, and it's a turmeric based, but it has cardamom and cinnamon and clove. I don't know if you've ever heard of golden milk. Golden milk is a turmeric based latte, and you just mix literally turmeric in with oat milk or almond milk, whatever milk you like. You turn it into a latte, heat the milk, froth it up, and just put a teaspoon of it in. Well, mine is at a deeper level because mine not only has turmeric, but it has cinnamon, the cardamom, the clove, it has ginger, all of those together. You just put a teaspoon in 8 ounces of milk and you froth it up. And it is such a great anti-inflammatory drink and it's delicious. It's so good for you. Then there was the one called Menno Mood Magic, and that one has ashwagandha and maca in it. Those are adaptogenic herbs that help you, or spices that help you relax. It's really calming for the nervous system. It helps the brain to function, to find clarity a little bit, which is really great. Then there was my cinnamon mix one, and that is great to top off your beverages or in your coffee grinds. I love to put the cinnamon in my coffee grinds, or even the cacao one, which I gave you also. That's great in coffee grinds, and it helps your coffee to taste like mocha. But they're both also great for baking. If you want to make a chocolate milk that's a little bit healthier, you can use that spice. Versatile, there's a few different uses for them. And I hope your listeners or the people that you gave them to, there's a QR code on the back of each one of them. If they just scan that, all the ingredients are in there and the benefits. I hope they do that so they can really learn how good they are for them. All of my spices are anti-inflammatory and antioxidant. I went down that path because, of course, everybody wants to be healthy, but changing habits is hard. That's what I do for people. I help them change their habits around their health. I had to think of a way that people get their every day without a lot of effort. So I thought spices. God, spices have been around for thousands of years to help in healing. Why not try to do some blends that people will love in the food that they're already eating, right? You're not really making an extra step. The only thing you're doing is sprinkling some spices on your food. That's why I created the spices. And then somebody said, well, what about teas? I would love a tea. So then I got into the side of it and I started creating with the tea and they came out fabulous. I also do homemade nut butters. I buy raw nuts, roast them, and I jar them because you can't find the fat nut butters in jars in the store. Everything is in plastic. Mine has no preservatives. They're good for about 3 months, but they'll never make it 3 months. I promise you. People eat them within a couple sittings. They're that good, but they're really healthy for you. I just try to find practical ways for people to add healthy things to their life on a daily basis.
What are some other things that you usually get people started, especially when sometimes we want all the benefits, but we want none of the pain?
I know, it's so true. That's really true. The biggest recommendation I'll make for people who are interested in their health is to try to help them reduce the use of plastics in their everyday life. Because when we use plastics for consumption, like in our water bottles or when we store our food, inevitably the plastics will seep into our food. If you are one to go to the store and buy a plastic water bottle, you don't know if that water bottle was heated on the way to its destination. When plastic is heated, like if it was in a truck and it just sat in the sun and it was hot, the chemicals seep into the food. We ingest that and they become part of our body. They're called forever chemicals, and it's very hard possible to get rid of them. They build up in our system. Some people can't detoxify from plastics, heavy metals, molds, because they have certain gene mutations that don't allow them to do it. And if you're not aware of what's going on with gene mutations, then we walk around full of toxicity that really can make us sick. I really just try to tell people the easiest thing that you can do for your health, if you don't want to go through all the pain of making all of the habit changes, is to eliminate toxins as best you can. And
What are some of the symptoms that people might notice?
definitely fatigue. If someone is tired all the time, chronic fatigue, that can be a sign. People, headaches are a big one. Your skin is your big organ, and yet when we have stuff going on the inside in our gut, a lot of times it manifests itself through the skin. If people have eczema, psoriasis, acne, things like that, I often recommend that they go and get the balance of their gut checked, because sometimes that can be the culprit. That's definitely something that people should look for. Brain fog, that's a really big one. People walking around thinking, oh, I just forgot that, or forgot this, or I can't concentrate. A lot of that can be toxin buildup that really can put a stress on the body, and people need to be aware of those symptoms.
What is it that you would like to share with people today? What are you working on?
Well, I'm working on studying more about the gut microbiome. Our gut has its own little its own little house of bacteria, pathogens, viruses, and all things that grow in the gut that we need in order to digest our food properly and help expel properly all of the things that we've got going on in there. So I'm learning how the balance of the gut really makes a terms of sickness. They've done a study on Alzheimer's patients and then patients who don't have Alzheimer's. They've noticed that those that do have Alzheimer's are missing a certain gut bacteria. The interesting thing is that it's the same thing with people with autism, except it's a different type of gut bacteria. That's why I really stress it's so important for us to know if our gut is healthy, because if we have an imbalance and we don't know about it, or we ignore it, and an imbalance can show up by bloating. If you feel like everything you eat, you bloat afterwards and you're uncomfortable, you're constipated, can't go to the bathroom, or maybe you go to the bathroom too many times a day, it really can be a sign of an imbalance, or what we call dysbiosis. If we don't take care of that, dysbiosis can thin the gut lining, which is in our intestines, the gut lining, which is supposed to be really tight junctures so that food particles cannot get through to the bloodstream. If we irritate that gut, those junctures open, and then food particles are able to go out into the bloodstream. Once it does, then our immune system kicks in. Once our immune system kicks in and starts attacking those big food particles, if we keep eating those same foods, or if we don't know that we have leaky gut, our immune system is constantly attacking. A few things can happen. A chronic inflammation. The immune system is focused on that problem that you're having, and maybe less focused on other areas where it might need your immune system to help out. People might be getting sick, more colds more often, even allergies that they've never had before. That's because your immune system is on constant overload. We don't know about it. Causes chronic inflammation, and then that chronic inflammation can turn to chronic disease. It's a whole process, and it really is fascinating. It's really amazing to learn about how our body works. As a student, as a kid, I was never this geeky. I was never so in tune to one particular thing, but just because of my experience over the years with different things, it really has caught my attention. I absolutely love going down that rabbit hole.
What led you to it?
I was a corporate paralegal for a lot of years. I did immigration work, and I was in the corporate world, and I really liked what I did. I helped people to come over to this country legally to work as scientists and doctors and stuff, and it was a great job. I did enjoy it, but I ended up getting sick. I had my babies, and I came down with these symptoms that mimicked MS. I had one side of my face was drooping. I felt pins and needles throughout my entire body. I was bloated. I felt like I was 7 months pregnant all the time. My stomach was always hurting. I always felt like I had something going on in here. Every time I ate, I felt like I needed go for a run to help everything just move. My sisters laugh at me because I still say that to them. We joke, you want to go for a run? And they know it's because I feel like I need to let things pass. I had every ologist you could imagine. I went to every single doctor. The brain doctor said I was fine. He did a spinal tap. He did brain scans. I had MRIs, you name it. I had it and my brain was fine. There's nothing I can do for you. Then I went to the cardiologist and she said, your heart is fine. There's nothing I can do for you. I went to the rheumatologist, same thing, and so on and so on and so on. I lived with that for probably about 12 years, that feeling of just being sick. I really thought that there was something really wrong with me. I took the time to think about, okay, what is it that I can do to help? I started eating better. I went on an exercise routine that I still follow today. I just started to make changes that did help, but I still wasn't feeling well. Then I came across a holistic practitioner who sat down and actually talked to me and listened to what it is that I was going through and everything else. She said, well, sounds like you have a gut disease. That long ago, I said, a gut disease? Who thinks of a gut disease? I don't even know what that is. Sure enough, we did some testing and she diagnosed me with what's called SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. I had food intolerances that I didn't know about. We addressed the SIBO with antibiotic, and I was on the antibiotic for 3 years, and every time I went off it, it would come back. I was on supplements, I was on all kinds of different things, and finally I said, I can't do this anymore. I've had enough. This roller coaster of being bloated, being not bloated, not feeling well. I really started to pay attention to what worked for my body. I had to change the foods that I was eating because I was intolerant. I was intolerant to gluten and I didn't know it. And I was intolerant to dairy products. I was eating those not knowing that they were making me sick. I came up with an entire plan for myself and I practiced and I practiced. And through trial and correction, I finally found what worked for me. It made me realize couple of things. It made me realize that just because it's protocol, just because the doctors say that it works for everyone does not mean it's going to work for you. That really made me realize that everybody is such an individual that we really have to focus on you and what's going on with you and your symptoms and what works for you and what doesn't. The other thing that it made me realize was that I had these gut issues long before I had those stabbing pains. I had fertility issues. I had candida. I had joint pain growing up, and all of those things are associated with gut health. Long before I had the stabbing pain, I had other symptoms that I just didn't know were related to gut health. I had endometriosis, a lot of things that had I known then what I know now, the reason why I'm in this profession, because I don't think anyone should have to go through what I went through and not understand what it body is telling them.
I wonder, and I don't want to overstep our boundaries. I don't work with eating disorders or anything like that, but I can see how sometimes we don't eat to avoid the discomfort, but then we end up overeating or eating things that maybe are not great for us because we're so hungry, desperate. So always living between not eating because you don't want to be uncomfortable, but then you make it worse for you.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. You really have to just figure out that if you are bloated all the time, it's not normal. I had somebody say that to me the other day. Well, everybody has bloating. Okay, everybody has bloating, but that's not okay. Somebody else said, I think everybody has leaky gut. Well, no, not everybody has leaky gut. If you have it, you really should address it. When we're avoiding eating so that we're not bloating causes other problems. As part of my coaching, we really get down to the root cause of issues. Okay, why are you bloated? What's going on? Why do you have acid reflux? Let's figure out why that's happening to you. It's a trial and correction, but you can figure it out. It does take a little bit of patience and it might take some habit change, but your health is worth it. You're worth it. We have to really sometimes just put ourselves first and understand that we need to take care of ourselves before we can figure out the rest of the world. As nurturers, as women, we want to make sure that everybody is taken care of. Sometimes that means putting ourselves on the back burner, and we're making ourselves sicker by doing that. Taking care of ourselves, it's not selfish, it's a necessity. I just wish we believe that for us.
How do you know the difference between being bloated and I just ate?
If it's chronic, if you're always bloated, if you have gas, right? Some people are very gassy and they're passing gas all the time. That's not normal. If you eat and then a couple hours later you still feel like the food is sitting in your stomach, all of those things are telltale signs. Maybe something is going on. The other thing is your bowel movements. That's something that people don't like to talk about, but it's so important. If you are a person that goes to the bathroom regularly every day, and then all of a sudden, or maybe you're not going for every 3 days, chances are something's going on there. Monitor it. And if after a few days things don't get back to normal, just remember you went from pooping every day to pooping maybe twice a week. What's happening in there is all that poop is building up, and it can become impacted in there. It's going to be harder to start regular bowel movements again. Things like that are definitely what you want to pay attention to when you think maybe something else is going on.
If we were to think about our gut biome like a garden, what would you say are the activity? What do we need to do every day, every so often?
Great question. I love that. That is a good analogy because it really is. There's so many different things growing in there that needs to be nourished. Even the bad gut bacteria that we have in there, we need in order to help balance the good bacteria. In terms of watering a garden, every day when you wake up in the morning, the first thing that you do should be to drink a glass of water. It really helps to stimulate the digestive system and really help to get things moving along. Sometimes, as a matter of fact, somebody said to me, well, what happens if you're constipated? Well, I often recommend coconut water. Coconut water is a fantastic tool to have in your toolbox, not only to help with constipation, but also electrolytes. Instead of grabbing a Gatorade or something else that has added sugars and sweeteners in them, coconut water can be as good as those others for replenishing electrolytes, also help with constipation. Drinking that regularly when you wake up in the morning is a great idea. The other thing is feeding it. In terms of fertilizing your garden, you do need to fertilize your gut. For people that don't have gut issues, a great way to start there is with probiotics and prebiotics. Those are foods or supplements, but I love to get my nutrients through foods. Things like fermented foods, so kefir, kombucha, sauerkraut, anything that has that fermentation to it is an excellent probiotic for your gut. Even yogurt is really good. You want to marry that with prebiotics. So prebiotic foods like garlic and ginger, artichokes, those can be foods that really help the probiotic to do its job really, really well. That's how you want to feed your things are really great for it. I'll stop there because I know people might expect me to say vegetables, make sure you get all your vegetables. And while that is extremely, extremely important, if you have certain gut issues, vegetables might not be the best route for you to go, especially raw vegetables, because if you have a compromised gut, whether you have leaky gut or if you have SIBO like I did, your gut is already working super hard to process what it is that you are eating. Raw cruciferous vegetables like broccoli or celery or things like that, and we eat those things raw, we're putting a real stress on our gut to digest those foods. We should stay away from raw foods if we have any kind of gut issue. The other thing is that there are some vegetables that people might be intolerant to that just don't make sense, like vegetables called nightshades. Nightshades are vegetables like eggplant, tomato, and potato. People eat those regularly and they think, oh, I should not have a problem with these because they're vegetables. Why would I have a problem? But there are certain compounds in those that really irritate people. That's why for all my clients, I highly, highly recommend them to go for food intolerance blood test to see if they're intolerant to any foods.
What's the difference between the prebiotics and the probiotics?
The probiotic is what feeds your gut bacteria, and the prebiotic is what the probiotic needs in order to do its job really, really well. They work in conjunction with each other. If you think of it, the prebiotic feeds the probiotic and the probiotic feeds your gut.
What would be the perfect meal for your gut?
A perfect meal for your gut would be bone broth. Homemade bone broth made with marrow bones is really a great thing to sip like a tea or like a coffee. I make a big batch of that all the time and I freeze it. I'll include that as part of my meal. The great thing about that is I got collagen in it, and collagen is great for your gut. It's got loads of protein. And then depending on what you make with it, if you throw in, because I make it in my Instapot, so if you throw in prebiotic foods with it, I even throw in cabbage, which can be considered a probiotic food if fermented. So cabbage and ginger, turmeric, lots of different herbs. I throw it all into the Instapot and I cook it with the bones, and then you strain it and you sip this. That is probably the most nourishing thing that you're going to do for your gut. If your gut is not healthy, it can manifest itself on your skin. As we get older and we stop producing as much collagen as we did when we were younger, of course, it causes our skin to age. Adding that back in through bone broth and where you're nourishing your gut, giving your gut that collagen that it needs, it really can help then manifest itself on your face. If you have a healthy gut, it will show through. Literally, you are what you eat. Don't forget too, your skin cells when you're younger, as we get older, this is less, but when your skin cells turn over about every 35 days when you're young, 28 to 35 days when you're young. So, and those skin cells are made from your gut. The healthier you eat, the healthier your skin is going to be. So you're literally regenerating from the inside out. As we get older, our skin cells don't regenerate that often, but they still regenerate. And we can certainly help ourselves to have better skin by eating better. The better you treat your gut, the better it's going to treat you. Tell that especially into menopause years. Treat your body well, and on the other side, she's going to treat you well.
Can you speak to the gut-brain connection?
Yes. I love talking about this because it really is so important. And one way that I get people to realize how real the gut-brain connection is, I ask them, okay, when you see something that might be threatening to you and you recognize that, where do you feel it? Right? In your gut. Some people even have trouble if they're nervous about something, they have trouble going to the bathroom. If you see something and you're excited about it, you'll get butterflies in your stomach, right? That is the connection. And the gut and the brain are directly connected through the vagus nerve. This is really important because what we've been seeing with science is that if your gut's not healthy, your brain knows it. Same thing with your brain. If your brain's not healthy, your gut knows it. They're in constant communication with each other. The gut is really fascinating because it has its own nervous system. It's called the enteric nervous system. It has as many neurons as your brain does. It communicates with your body the same way. That's why it's known as your second brain. It really is an amazing organ that communicates with your brain. Your serotonin is made in your gut. About 90% of your serotonin is in your gut. When your gut is healthy and it's producing that serotonin the way that it should, it sends that message, that hormone, up to your brain, and then your brain can release the endorphins to help keep us from being depressed or anxious and keep our cognitive function running properly.
You can see even in the way that the words that have been chosen, the second brain, is that really the second one?
No, that's right. That's right. It isn't really the second one, but science still calls it that. So we'll stick with that for now.
That's the very bottom of the most basic instinctual, and we get disconnected from it. Often if we live busy life and whatnot, our way to de-stress is to disconnect. Nobody's paying attention to, hey, what's my gut saying today?
I love that you made that. It really is so true. How many times do we get a feeling about something and we just are like, I don't know, my eyes are seeing this and my brain is saying this, but I'm feeling this way and I don't feel good about it. That's our gut telling us. I'm glad you made that connection because it really is so important. I wanted to describe for you was that there is research that shows when we have brain trauma and the balance of the brain is thrown off, balance of the gut is automatically thrown off. For people who have had concussions or strokes or anything like hematomas of the brain, they've shown that the gut bacteria is automatically out of balance when that happens. That's how strong the connection between the two is. The thing that amazes me is that we don't know much about it. This is all new research and it's all new things that are coming out and finally connection between missing gut bacteria and Alzheimer's, or the missing gut bacteria and autism, and the fact that the mother's gut bacteria when she's pregnant with her baby is what is the foundation for the baby's neurological system and immune system. I love to learn all of it. I am learning every day. I love to share what I know, but I'll never stop learning.
Now I'm curious if there's people who do what you do, specialize on perinatal care, and how does that look like in preparation and during gestation?
Prenatal care, it's so important. That's part of what I do as well as a hormone support coach. I help women to understand what it is that their baby needs in order to be healthiest. It's not just while they're pregnant, it's before they're pregnant as well. The gut health of the dad is important as well, because of course that comes into play, and we don't think of it much because once the mom is carrying the baby, we only think about the health of the mom. But prior to becoming pregnant, the health of both parents is extremely important for the health of the child.
Also, they're just saying habits. We're going to continue.
Habits are a big thing, especially for the mom when she's carrying the baby. The gift that she's giving the baby, the very first gift, is for gut health. We want to make sure that it is as healthy as can be. That does mean sometimes changing habits around what you eat, your lifestyle, how you treat yourself, what you say to yourself, because what you say, you believe. We want to make sure that you're being kind to your body and to yourself so that you can have the healthiest pregnancy and then inevitably the healthiest child.
What do you want to leave people with today?
Celebrate yourself, not to be hard on yourself. You have to enjoy life, but don't ignore things that might be going on with you. We put our trust in doctors who have maybe 15 minutes to spend with us, and they don't even know our name. They are bombarded with all of their things that they need to pay attention to because they're bound by certain rules. Become your own advocate. Become the expert on your own body. Understand what's going on with you. If you feel like there's some chances are there might be something wrong. Get to the root cause of it. Don't just pop a pill. Understand why you have that acid reflux or why you are bloated. Become the expert on your body so that you can be that advocate for your own health.
Before we go, note on that part of they don't even know your name. I don't know if you have seen all trigger warnings with this one. The TV show Dying for Sex. Haven't seen it yet. She's diagnosed with terminal cancer, and she goes on in having a sexual quest to heal from sexual trauma and find herself. At some point during the process, she made her doctor pause, sit down, and breathe, and expressing you to explain to me in details what's going to happen. I need you to listen to me. If I tell you need a break, I need you to listen. That was a very wholesome moment. I think
that's interesting, and it's really true, right? Because doctors have so much going on over here. They're trying to make sure that they meet certain standards and are busy with so many other things. We need to be the expert. We need to be the expert on ourselves. It doesn't matter whether it's with a doctor or a dentist or anybody. We need to understand ourselves best so that when we go in to the doctor, we are armed with the right questions. We know what to ask, and we can have an educated conversation with them because we know who we are. We can explain our symptoms and what we're feeling the best way. To be really in tune with your health and your body is probably one of the best things that you can do for yourself.
Thank you, Kate, for sharing this time with me.
Thank you so much. I love our time together, and I can't wait to do it again soon.